Okay. I want to do damage to the song. Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. Good to see you on the line, Desmond. Good to have you here, brother. Dedicated. All right. So let's get this party started. All right, so here we go. It's mastering business structure for your trucking company, navigating the territory. All right. And again, this is me, as usual, Cheston with By the Books Consulting. You can reach us at 888-4BTB now or at bythebooksconsultants.com or youraccountingsuperhero.com or Cheston at bythebooksconsultants.com. Okay. You know, it's off season, like I say off season, taxes, off season, but we do so much more than taxes with people. It is really everything else we do outside of taxes that matters come tax time. You know, nobody likes paying taxes. Nobody likes filing taxes. But what we do like is making money and keeping our money. So the game plan is to always execute each and every moment throughout the year on being able to do just that. Make more, keep more, make more, keep more, and then funnel that into freedom, wealth, and legacy. Okay, so that's more so what we do. We really want to set people up to make sure that they are always gaining inside of what they do. Call that a sure win setup, right? What are the sure wins that we can create inside of what you're up to in business? That's what we're about. And we do it by the books. You know, that's why this company is called By the Books Consulting, because the numbers, they tell the story, they don't lie. I was on a call with my staff not too long ago, and man, it's so much is in the number story, and more so is what's not there tells the complete story. If you can imagine that, it's like what's behind the numbers, what's not there tells more so of the story. Like we can tell when something is missing, right? Just a little bit off. You want to have that skill set and on your team to be able to navigate, well, what's going on? What do we really do? And have all the structures in place to make sure that you are having a good ironclad grasp on everything that's going in and out of the company. We work as a lot of small business owners who really don't get that. And we go through the day-to-day, and there's no real systematic approach to tracking and recording the business. And it's super critical because if you don't track and record, then you're shooting in the dark, you're blind, don't know what's going on. So these are important things to have throughout the year. Make sure we're clear. Are we still doing this thing? I don't know if we're still doing this. I might have to take this slide out because I believe we're done with this promotion. It is the beginning of the quarter. I believe we're done. All right. If you didn't take advantage, you missed it. All right. So a quick disclaimer. The following is for educational purposes only and is not to be considered financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please consult your tax, accounting, and/or legal professional for specific advice. In addition to that, we always want to forward the conversation. If you have anything that you want to bring to the table to do that, to forward this conversation, please do so. And you can do that by emailing me or getting me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And of course, my promise to you, every one of these calls is that you will take at least one thing from this segment that will help you not only survive, but thrive in trucking. Okay, that's the intention behind this call. We're going to leave you with that. We're going to take at least one thing from here to help you not just survive, but thrive in trucking. You will have a new level of clarity on actions to take over and over again that will make the most impact in your business. One of the biggest things I've realized as an entrepreneur is consistency. Consistency is king. If we don't have consistency in what we do, there's going to be an up and down life pattern to your business and to your life. Okay, and especially as an entrepreneur, we want to have a trajectory that's on the up and up. That's what this is. We want to make sure that we improve efficiency, quality, speed, and reduce costs. We want to make sure we're on the uptrend with all the good things and not be so much up and down, right? And in order to ensure that, it starts over here where we are as the owner, where I am. Like, I make the decision to be consistent with things day in and day out. I establish what those protocols are going to be, and we honor those with integrity. And that's how we actually move things forward with velocity. And we have like quantum leaps inside of business when we actually day to day to day honor the integrity of the structure we put in place with consistency. Okay, so we've been talking about profitability and planning for it, and being able to, these last couple of weeks, we've been talking about counting the cost of tracking your business, ways to track it. We're going to continue that conversation today. I don't anticipate this call being that long. I did not have a whole lot of new data to put into this ITS dispatch because I wanted to continue on ITS dispatch, show you some things about how to track and monitor the business, specifically when it comes to making sure that your people get paid, creating settlements, understanding the number aspect of that through these business systems. Now, last time we were on this call, and I don't think a whole lot of you took advantage of TMS, a trucking management software. The one that we're taking advantage of right now inside of the demonstration that we're doing is this ITS dispatch. Okay. So just basically, we want to keep eyes on all these things, right? The loads that we do, the number of miles that the truck is rolling. We want to see how many miles loaded versus and deadhead miles. So we get the total mileage on that. We want to see how much we're getting per mile realistically, because sometimes we'll get an agreement, a rate con, to deliver freight, and the mileage on the rate con is one thing, but the actual mileage is another, right? And we want to see the actual mileage and what there is in terms of performance improvements that we need to do, that we need to address. If we're doing better than the expected mileage, fantastic. But if we're not, well, why not? And is there something we can do about it? And usually there is. Okay. Of course, we have the cost per mile. We have how much we're on time with delivering, and then we have compliance things. Just by like, if you want to put in the chat, just put a 1 in the chat if you're experiencing issues with drivers just being compliant when it comes to these things like HOS, pre-trips, doing their logs 100%, signing off on their logs, all the things they're supposed to do while they're out there on the road. If you're having an issue with that, just put a 1 in the chat for me. I'll be right back. Yeah, good deal. I see you, Desmond. Yeah, you got a common issue with being able to make sure drivers do what they do, or what they're supposed to do, rather, in terms of compliance. And there's a way that we want to approach this in order to give a high probability that drivers will comply. It really starts with one frame. We call this a frame. There's if you guys didn't know, there's this thing called the law of diminishing marginal impressions. The law of diminishing marginal impressions. So what is that? It just means first impressions count. So this first interaction that we have with people that come onto our company, or anybody rather that is involved with our company, it matters big time. For example, if I show up to my first engagement with somebody, if I'm on time, like right on, like prompt, I'm on time, right? That first time around, well, they're going to think of me as somebody who's like punctual, who's on time. I could show up late for the next 8 engagements, and they'll still have this frame of reference for me as a punctual individual. This is how psychology works. Now, if conversely, that first meeting, I show up late, well, I'm somebody who's just late, who can't be on time. It will take several meetings for them to consider that I'm a punctual individual after that. Even if I come on time 8-10 times afterward, in their mind, I'm still that guy who's who's late. Yeah, this is something to pay attention to, right? And now, if we take this into consideration with what we do in life in general, especially if we're running our company, and we want the people that are inside of our company to comply with the things that we want them to comply with, and then we want to take this law into consideration. How do we set them up from the beginning? Well, these are the expectations. Yeah, we intend to have 99% safety and compliance rating. That's what we want for our company. That's how we deliver value to our customers. That's how we get more business. That's how we stand out amongst our competitors. 99% safety and compliance rating. All right, nothing below that. So what does that mean for us? That means that we definitely do our pre-trips. We abide by the hours of service. All of our logs are filled out all the time. We stay within the speeding limits. We never get any violations. We make sure that we are tremendously safe throughout the year. 0 tickets in 365 days for each one of our drivers. That's the goal, right? All these things can be established from the start. And then once that frame is established, there's an expectation, there's a standard there that they just know it, right? You're expected to do your logs. Now, how do we enforce that? This is actually off tangent. We were going to talk about something else, but this is really good to speak about because it ties into the TMS. Communication every day. Send out messages about safety and compliance. Send out acknowledgments about safety and compliance. This is what we do. Hey, reminder, make sure you sign your logs today. Did you do your pre-trip? Here's the importance of pre-trips and CSA scores. There's a correlation between CSA scores and pre-trips. Right? Those who don't do their pre-trips end up having CSA scores. Companies that don't do pre-trips all the way around end up having CSA scores that are 30% less than those who actually do pre-trips in their company. Simple thing. 15 minutes pre-trip, right? Signing off on logs, same thing. We can talk about that stuff through our communications. Now, if you have templated communication that you develop through your company, we can have templated messages that we send out periodically as a reminder and a buffer. But the frame has already been established. So it's already expected. There's an expectation. There's a leveling up that wants to be there already from the jump. And everybody understands it from the beginning. Now, when we get that, and now the idea is to keep communicating this, and there needs to be an accountability when people do not adhere to the compliance regulations within your own company. Hopefully that's helpful. Now, the other things that we take a look at here, of course, we have all our financial indicators. And we want to make sure we're taken care of. Now, a lot of the times when we use a TMS, it's going to give you the revenue, and it'll give you how much you pay drivers. You can keep a track of a lot of times fuel costs and maintenance costs, and then that's pretty much the extent of it. A lot of the times you're not going to be able to produce a balance sheet to show exactly, well, what is the net equity of the company that you have? What is the value of this company, the valuation of it? Right, but you want to understand that. Well, what is my valuation this time this year versus this time last year? Are we increasing our value as we move forward into time? If I wanted to sell this company today, what could I get for it? These are the things we want to know at our fingertips, like right now. Right now, if you're not set up like this way, I invite you to consider having yourself set up this way because it makes a difference. Now, the thing about it is that when we have clear eyes on what it is that we're doing, then we can make clear decisions on what it is that we're doing. We can move assets, we can shift finances to other areas of life that make sense based on our positioning, our financial positioning. Like if I'm overexposed to taxes here, well, then I want to make sure I'm having a choice here to not be overexposed right now. I can make a choice to shift it somewhere else where it's not so much exposed to taxes, and it still increases the wealth in some other area. And that is a real good example of that. Okay, now, of course, we have like key performance indicators. Now, if you're not really good at financial metrics, like the key performance indicators like return on equity, return on ROI, return on investment, and RIC, return on invested capital, and growth rates and profitability and all that, all those metrics, and so much more, liquidity ratios and everything else. If you're not really familiar with those financial terminologies, then you probably want to partner up with somebody who is, just go to, just like a doctor. Doctor goes, you go to a doctor to get a health checkup. You might want to go to somebody to get a health checkup, see how your business is performing, what the health is overall of your business financially. Because we can read those numbers and say, okay, this is where you stand. And these are the opportunities you have to improve what you're doing. Or you may want to start closing up shop because you're not going to recover from this thing. Right? That's another thing that you want to consider. When is the time to actually call it quits? Sometimes it's hard to do that. So we've been talking about technology that helps with tracking and recording your trucking company. Now, last week we did do a demo of the ITS dispatch software. There isn't much else that I've done with this particular project that we've been working on in the last week because we didn't have the information sent over to us to do that. But there's some good stuff here that I was doing some background research on. Even when people don't send us information, we do what we can to go and investigate and see where we can find the information, what they've been doing. So we have access to some things. We can see exactly what loads have been done. It just takes more time for us to put that together because we got to do a lot of background digging to find out the information. Okay, but now let's take a look at something here. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. What we're looking at here is basically another load that we're putting up here on the board. Now we did this last week. We started putting up loads to just start seeing how settlements work inside of the software. We're going to continue that and see how these settlements get populated when we do multiple loads. Okay. And also, I'm doing a thing here where there's a leased on, like there's a carrier, right? There's actually leased on owner operator, really not a carrier, but this particular carrier has a leased on owner operator who has a driver for their truck. So the agreement is that they get a percentage of the load, the leased on investor owner, because they're not really operating the truck, they're investor owners. So they're leasing on, they're getting the percentage of the freight. And then what gets deducted is their driver pay, because the carrier actually pays the driver directly. This is the relationship that they have. The carrier pays their driver. The leased on owner operator, or the leased on investor operator rather, is not paying that driver directly. All right, the carrier pays the driver for them. All right, and there's a lot of times the setup is like this. And how do we do it if we're running our business as a small carrier? What are the ways that we can actually do this for ourselves? Okay. So we've been looking at this, setting them up with their loads. So there's a backlog of loads that they have not inputted in here that we're going to get updated in their system, or at least encourage them to start doing that work themselves at least. All right, but it looks something like this. Okay, now I already started adding. This is a one load that they ran from South Carolina to Texas. This lane that they ran. Okay, so this was the shipper that we're putting in here. And then I also have, let me just find out my other information here real quick. Boom. All right, so I also have to add in the load details, because the shipper here was Nucor, and we just added them, so we put them here, Nucor Steel, South Carolina. And this is like back in the beginning of June is when they picked this load up. So it's a month old, the paperwork and the documentation for this, and we're just updating their systems to include all the loads that were not entered into the system, if that makes sense. All right, so their pickup for this was on May 31st. Bear with me, make sure that that's true. Then, they had an appointment time, 3 p.m., 1500. And this was a load. Yeah, what is this? Steel. This is Nucor steel, so just steel. And put pallets here for now. See, this says 6 pieces. And the weight was 42,000. Of course, you have the 100,000. As far as the value is concerned. And then any notes that we have here for the shipper, like there is a note here that says CB channel 35 when you arrive, CB channel 35. That notation is there. Anything else like first come, first serve, whatever it is, you can put here in the notes section. The PO numbers are more so like your pickup numbers and reference numbers. But they have a couple of numbers here. So I'm gonna put both of these numbers. And get this too, like if this is on this load board, the truckstop.com load board, all we need to do is import it here and then everything else will populate. It doesn't, you don't have to manually enter these things if you're using the load board from truckstop.com. With ITS dispatch, that's the one that integrates directly with this one. Okay, now we're going to go down here. We're going to skip over. This is not a customs brokers type load. We're not going out of the country, so we're going to leave that blank. And then we have our consignee, who's going to be, we're going to add this one right now. It's Muller Supply. And they're in Ballinger, Texas. The address 1913. Such as app. Oh, 76821. All right, so if there's any contact name here too, we can add that, but we don't have those details there. This looks like there's a window of time. No appointments necessary. We can dual add this as a shipper as well as a consignee. Okay, and we save. Now we have up until, I'm going to put the latest time available for this. This was actually in the beginning of the month, last month. Delivery day was on June 2nd, and the time was between 7:30 a.m. and 3 o'clock p.m. So we can put up to 1500 at 3 p.m. on this. Okay. And we can show the time on that. And then, of course, the start location. Now we have the driver. I'm going to switch it up right now because I want to show you something here. Okay, we're going to put multiple drivers here because we're going to add this as, we're going to add this. I'm going to make sure I put it here in Muller Steel before we do that. Muller Supply. Good deal. And we have the PO numbers. We're going to copy those and paste those, I believe. They're the same for the pickup and the delivery before we move on. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add the driver. There's one, this is the driver of the truck, and this is going to be flatbed. We can pay flatbed with parts here. And right now we can put in the start location because this was picked up in South Carolina. We can push Huger just for now. And then we're going to do truck 2. And then this is automatically, like, we don't put the rate in here for the driver because his rate is already saved with his profile. So it'll automatically get that added. And here we do have to add in the shipper details again for each one of the drivers and all these the time details. So this is, again, it's going to be 3 p.m. and then it's going to be steel pieces 6. This was 42,000, and this was 100,000. And then we had PO numbers. We copied and pasted that, so we have it here. And this is also CB channel 35. That's what we had there. Okay, so Now we have this, and then we have the consignee is going to be Muller Supply again. Same deal. And it's going to be 3 p.m. again here. Okay, and it's the same thing here, PO numbers pays. Now we can do this. Total mileage here is 1362. And then we're going to just copy that and paste it into the driver miles. Okay, and now we're good to go with the driver. So all his details are there. Now here's going to be the difference. Now driver one is the driver, and we're going to add another one. This is going to be the leased on owner operator. Okay, now when we do this, that's the leased on owner operator. We can do the same equipment, which is flatbed with part. That's what we have here. And then we can do the same vehicle. Okay, and we're gonna start location is going to be it's going to be Ballinger. It's going to be Ballinger because it's going to be at the drop-off location because they're not really going to be pulling any loads. This is key. Okay, they're not pulling any loads. So we can actually have their start location at the consignee location, the drop-off location. All right, so this is where she's picking up, and this is also where she's going to be dropping off. Okay, and then we can have the same time, 3 p.m. for the. Actually, we can either way. We can just put no show time. We don't have to put that in there. We can have the weight there and value there. Same thing. Okay, same stuff here. All right, and they populate the miles. It's going to be 0. This is what we want. We want it to be zeroed out. Now the details here, we can put the same stuff here, pieces and 6. We can put steel, but we don't have to. Okay. Now, same thing here. Okay, and we could put the PO numbers in there. I'm not going to do that for our example. But when we get this already all said and done, we can make sure that the miles here are updated as well. That did not update the way we wanted it to, so we need to go ahead and make sure that that does get in there. Didn't do it for us. Sometimes it takes a little while to refresh the screen so it comes back up with the mileage. But either way, the mileage is already there with the drivers, so that's what we wanted anyway. Okay, the driver miles. Now, when we do this load has already been delivered, so we're going to just go put it over here to complete it. Everything has been completed, and it has already been invoiced, as a matter of fact. Okay. So now when we go to our accounting section, this is what we really want to understand. And this is what we're going to talk about today, is just making sure we have a way to pay our drivers. So now we're going to select the driver that was on that load. Okay. And we're going to make sure that this is new still. And then we're going to have all of the pay. Really, we want to have it from that period, which is in June. Really, it's May 30th until first week of June. So we can go from May 30th until it's that first. Let's say let's put it up to June 2nd. Let's put it on Saturday. I think that's the end of their date, their period anyway. And we're going to run that. Okay, so here are the loads. Okay. Now what we can do, we can actually preview how much these guys are going to get paid for these loads. Now, if there's any deductions, we can add them here, or we can wait until this we do the save and preview. And then, I mean, those will actually come up if there are recurring deductions that are on his settlement. So what'll happen here, and can you guys, let me know if you guys can still see. Let me just do this, screen 1. Make sure that that's there. Good deal. All right, now this will happen. See, this is automatically in here. Okay. So this was the one that we just created. This was the one from before. Now there was a TARP that paid for it, right? That automatically gets added for when they do it, right? And it automatically gets their mileage in their the pay per mile calculated. So it's going to be on their settlement. So that's going to be their total pay for that week, which is fantastic. But we're also going to take this number because this number wants to come off of the carrier's settlement, the owner-operator settlement, rather, the an investor-owner settlement. So we do this and we take a look at our leased on owner, leased on investor owner, and we take this and we run that report. It's the same thing, right? The same loads come up. Now we can actually preview this, and we can save and preview, but there's also going to be deductions that come up that we can add to this, okay? Now, when we click on generate, all right, so here's the deal with them. So they get, this is their rate. After everything's said and done, that's the rate they get for the load. All right, so they're going to get that amount, 87% of the load. Then they're going to get that subtracted from their settlement. When I say that, they're going to get this here, the recurring deductions that are here, taken away from their settlement. Okay. And then if there's any fuel costs, let's say they paid, I don't know, for that week, maybe they had 600 on the 2 loads of fuel. All right, now we can actually preview this and it'll show up. When we pull it up again, this will be the bottom line. All right. Kind of cool, guys, to be able to do this as a small carrier, to have really good clarity on, the deductions. You keep track of this. It actually keeps track for the entire year. You can pull up these settlements and it'll show up for the entire year, based on all the loads that they pull, right, without having to do a whole lot of extra work in the background. Okay. Now, this call today really isn't going to be too long. I wanted to get here and talk about this specifically. And this scenario is something that nobody would necessarily know how to do this, because there's not really a way that it shows you how to do this. I just showed you a way, right? We can actually add the leased on investor owner as another driver with their rate and give them another settlement inside of this, because this is a scenario where the carrier is actually paying that driver directly, and there's a situation where we need to be able to deduct that from the settlement of that leased on owner operator. Here, inside of ITS dispatch, there's an option to have external carriers added, but when they're an external carrier, they just get paid the rate they get paid. It doesn't take into account, driver pay or anything else like that. There's going to be an agreed upon rate, like just like any other rate confirmation, and that's just what they get paid. We're not deducting anything from their pay there. No fuel deductions, no lease deductions, no driver pay deductions, no IFTA, no registration, no 2290, nothing like that is getting deducted when we're just setting them up as an external carrier through ITS dispatch. Now, the way to be able to, have leased on owner operators, leased on investor operators, have settlements in which you deduct anything from that, is to do it this way through the system. Okay, especially if they have a driver that will drive for them, we can create the settlements for the same driver and have that wage, that net effect of their pay, get deducted from the leased on investor operator for that too. All right. So if you have any questions, now is the time. We're actually going to wrap this up in the next 7 minutes or less. Okay. So I see some things in the chat. Good deal. I see the thank you there, sir. Now this is one option here with ITS dispatch. The other option is, there are so many other options that we can use out there in terms of software, TMS, that are effective as well. Okay, but this is one that really does do the job. All right, guys, if there are no other questions, we're going to wrap this thing up. Great being with you tonight. I won't be here next week. All right, I'm actually leaving town tomorrow morning. I'm going out of the country and I'm getting married. I'll be coming back a married man. All right, and I won't be back until after, like, Wednesdays when I'll be back officially. All right, so I won't be doing this call next week. And thank you again. Appreciate that. All right. So I will see you on the 17th for this call. And once again, it's great being with you guys, and I'll see you then. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.